Welcome to the Vault XL. This is a two-part live. Sonia Massey, the governor, is warning Sheriff Campbell to step down, and Riley Strain. New information has come to light pertaining to his disposition on that fateful night that he died in the river. And we're also going to talk about responsibility, accountability. Who's responsible for his death? Two-part live. Thank you for joining me. This is the Vault XL.
Who is the hiring leader, could have made calls to those departments.
The governor is taking the rare step, calling on a county sheriff to resign. Good evening, I'm Brandon Morales.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. It's been a month since Sonia Massey was shot and killed by a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy in her home after she called 911. Campbell is facing calls to resign for hiring Sean Grayson. And Governor Pritker shares those concerns. Our Capitol Bureau Chief Cole Hankey is live in our Capitol newsroom. So, Cole, why has Campbell become the subject of these calls?
Well, Grayson is in jail and facing charges of first-degree murder, but revelations about his prior record before joining the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department have led those calling on Campbell to resign say it was just irresponsible to hire him from the get-go. Governor J.B. Pritker joined the list of people calling on Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell to resign.
But the lack of progress is, how did this happen in the first place? How does this deputy sheriff get into the position that he was in? And I think we can all see that it was inappropriate. Now, to the question of, what can the state do? We're all looking into that.
The governor released a joint statement with Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton calling for his resignation Thursday, saying, quote, "The community remains in fear that calling the sheriff's office when they feel endangered will lead to another murder of an innocent resident." And Wednesday in Chicago, Pritker went deeper.
He failed to put forward reforms that clearly need to be made, training and other reforms, and still has failed to meet with the Massey family.
Pritzker joins Massey's family, activists,
wow.
and local Democrats in calling for Campbell to step down.
Wow.
State Senator Doris Turner also called for him to step aside on Wednesday, saying in a statement, quote, "Every day we learn something new about the tragic loss of Sonia Massey, spurring more questions than answers. I support the Massey family's call for Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell to resign." Campbell continued to hold against those calls, saying changes need to be made at the state level too, saying in a response to Pritzker, quote, "We need to unite and heal. The one responsible is in jail and will never work in law enforcement again. Calls for my resignation are nothing more than political maneuvering during a tragic event and only hurt the good citizens of Sangamon County." Pritzker was dismissive of Campbell's response at a later stop in Springfield.
If the state has, it's not the standard that each person who is in a hiring position across the state should be thinking about. They need to be thinking about the care and safety, specifically of people in their county.
Now, Campbell also said in his statement that he has tried to meet with the Massey family on 4 separate occasions, but was either rejected or just not accepted in those attempts.
Wow.
A source close to the family told me today they knew of at least 2 attempts that Campbell has made, but said they could not speak to the other 2 that Campbell brought up. Reporting in Springfield, I'm Cole Hankey, WCI 3.
Let me repeat that again. Hold on.
Made, but said they could not speak. Now, Campbell also said in his statement that he has tried to meet with the Massey family on 4 separate occasions, but was either rejected or just not accepted in those attempts. A source close to the family told me today they knew of at least 2 attempts that Campbell has made, but said they could not speak to the other 2 that Campbell brought up. Reporting in Springfield, I'm Cole Hankey, WCI 3, your local news leader.
All right, Cole, thank you so much. Now, the
Interesting.
governor and lieutenant governor are the only ones calling for Jack Campbell to resign. Last week, we told you 2 Sangamon County board members said he should resign after he spoke in a community listening session. Both Tony Del Giorno and Mark Ayers posted on social media. Ayers said the trust in Campbell has been decimated. He urged fellow board members to call for his resignation. But Campbell still has support from the county board, including Chairman Andy Van Meter. Last week, he told WCIA, quote, "I know Jack Campbell to be a man of high integrity. I will reserve judgment on this matter until we have all the facts. And I think most fair-minded people would feel the same way." On Monday, we told you another board member, Sam Campbell, wants to leave the choice up to voters this November. However, it wouldn't be official, rather an advisory referendum. It means if a majority of voters answer yes, Campbell would not be removed from office. The choice would still be up to him.
Well, that doesn't mean a damn thing now, does it? Okay. WCIA News is the source. So we have the governor of Illinois, Governor Pritker, asking for his resignation, Sheriff Campbell. He feels like the great people of Springfield, designated area, would not feel comfortable calling into the sheriff's office if they were in need of any type of assistance. Is that the consensus of most of the Springfield residents? I'm curious. Maybe they should put a poll up. The sheriff says this is a political move. He also made a mention about this about a week or so ago, that it was disrespectful, or some word he used pertaining to people wanting him gone. And one thing I have said in my commentary, is it fair, to ask someone to step down, such as, the situation with the CIA and the Trump attempt assassination? Should that woman have been removed from her post, and or should she have resigned? Because remember, she said she wasn't going to resign. And next thing you know, she resigned. So here we have another situation of a shooting and a death, murder of a woman. And he's basically saying, well, it's not my fault. I wasn't there. I didn't pull the trigger 3 times. He did that. But where there's a problem is what is obvious. You had due diligence to know more about this person you brought into your nest. You did the hiring. So that is a problem. Okay? This situation is a bit different. You did the hiring. It's not the same as, Secret Service detail, and then you want to go to the higher up and chop her head off and say, okay, we don't want her on board because of what the detail people did. Who hired these? You hired this guy. And then they say, oh, he had all this training. He had more than the standard amount of training, 2 types of training, blah, blah, blah. But you still hired him. And you've also said that the DUIs wouldn't have kept you from not hiring. That wasn't a big deal. So what people are going to say to themselves is logic. Well, if you don't care about the DUIs, why would I think you'd be the same person to inquire about his work history? Because really you can't have one without the other. If you don't care about a background check, you don't care about a work history. What's the difference? And why didn't you inquire? If you sent a memo out asking about his work history and you didn't get anything back, when you call back, email back, we're in the era of emails now. So when you email back, hey, I'm trying to speak to someone about Mr. Grayson's work history. Why would you not call back or email him back? Hey, I'd like to get some information on this fella. And mainly, why didn't you do a background check? Say it again. But then I keep telling myself, we're beating a dead horse to talk about any of this, really. Because it's a flip of the coin with the sheriff. 1 minute, it's Grayson's fault. The next, before that, it was, oh, we failed Sonya Massey. But hey, I don't really care that they had DUIs. Hey, it's not my fault they didn't call me back about his work history. Well, then, are you sorry that he killed the girl? I mean, help me understand. The woman, excuse me. Because you're all over the place. You're like a dancing cat with balls. You're all over the place. So which is it? You care or you don't care? Now we hear that he hasn't met with the family. The family acknowledges 2 attempts. So then that means, obviously, they don't want to get back with him. Let's go there. It doesn't take 3, 4, 5 times to try to reach out to somebody to say, hey, I'd like to meet with you and talk to you. They probably don't want to meet with him. That's probably what's going on. They just don't want to say it to his face directly or to his representative. I won't doubt they don't want to meet with him. Because let's be truthful. 4 times, 5 times, what's the damn difference? They're acknowledging 2 times somebody reached out to them. So that means they obviously don't want to be bothered. Well, leave them alone. Next subject. As we would say, in collegiate terms, it would behoove you to reach out to the family. So they've done it and nobody's responded, then let it go. Maybe they'll meet with the sheriff on their own time. Right now they're in a grieving process. It's only been 1 month. Maybe they don't want to talk to the sheriff. Maybe they don't want to look at the sheriff. And I can see why they wouldn't. Because look at all the information that has come out about Mr. Grayson and his DUIs, his negative work history. Why would they want to meet with the sheriff? Because most people are going to say, what is it that the sheriff is going to say to them that's going to make them feel better? Nothing. There's nothing he can say. Because in the end, this isn't somebody who jumped up, put on a weapon and a suit and jumped behind a patrol car, pretending to be a police officer. In some terms, some people would say, well, Queen, really, that is what he did. But you understand what I'm saying. He didn't just fall into the police department, sheriff's department. He was hired in, given a badge, given a suit, and you can't take it back. And the fact that you didn't do due diligence with the hiring process and the background check, that's a problem. That's a problem for many people. And you would be a fool to not think that this is not a problem, because this is a very big problem. So I can see why this family would not want to meet with the sheriff, don't want to look at him, don't want to talk to him. And then, as I said, he's juggling balls right now. One day he acts like he's, sad or disturbed that she died. Oh, it's all Grayson's fault. It ain't my fault. It ain't the other officer's fault. But then in the same breath, you're saying, well, the DUIs wouldn't have kept me from hiring him. That wouldn't have been no big deal. Oh, but it is a big deal. It's a big old deal. The hell you mean? So that's why I said you can't have one without the other. If you don't care about the DUIs, then you don't care about the criminal record. So talking to the sheriff right now is a waste of time. I can say that. And that's my logic. I wouldn't talk to him about any damn thing. After I've heard what he's had to say publicly about my child, and he's contradicting himself in what has happened to my child from somebody that he hired, and he doesn't even seem to take an acknowledgement that what they did was wrong, because basically he's saying, I couldn't do no more than what I've done. Well, you didn't do any damn thing. So you can't say you're sorry. That makes no sense. You can't go up to somebody and say, oh, I'm sorry for the loss of your kid, your brother, your sister, but I didn't do due diligence in hiring the person that killed your kid, your sister, your brother. You can't have one without the other. It makes no sense. Yeah, we realize, Sheriff, you weren't the one that shot Sonya Massey. Duh, we get that. But you hired the MF that did, and you didn't do a proper background and work history. So that's a problem. And yes, we understand he could have had an exceptional work history. He could have not had a general discharge from the Army and still have shot her. Because I'm sure that's what you're going to say next. Well, he could have been exemplary and still shot her. True. But that ain't what has happened. And so people are judging Mr. Grayson according to his negative work history, his DUIs, and his discharge from the military. And as I said, I try to weigh everything, before judging a person. Of course, it was excessive, shooting a person 3 times. And this is way before I knew anything about all this negative work history. So I wanted to get to know this person for why he shot this woman, what was his thought process. And everybody's, giving their opinion of what they think he was thinking. Most people aren't even really saying what they think he was thinking. They just think, well, he was just slap happy, gun happy. But his report says he feared for his safety. Might as well throw that in there too. And we can't even ask her what she was thinking because she's not here to tell us. And then, like I said, everybody's going on and on about the rebuking and what it really meant. I'm not even here to argue what it meant, because to me, she was a mental person. So I'm not even going to sit here and touch that situation of what she was thinking, because obviously she was mentally ill. But nonetheless, Sheriff, baby, let it go. Find you something else to do. Because this right here ain't working. I'm just keeping it real. This ain't working. This ain't working out at all. All right, I'm going to bring you some more commentary pertaining to the sheriff. So we've got the governor wanting him to step down. He doesn't want to step down. He feels like this is a political move to get him out, which he thinks is so disrespectful So, you're entitled to your opinion. The latest information also is Mr. Crump has some information released out about the Illinois Police Training Act. I don't know if I want to get into all that today, but I do want to play something else about him remaining, Mr. Campbell, because he's obviously not trying to go anywhere. 1 second, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all are well. Please follow the Queen on the Newsbreak app. That is another platform where I upload content and give my opinions pertaining to breaking news, pop culture. I tend to be doing probably a little bit better over there as far as my content and getting the views. The views are quite better there. I will just go ahead and admit it. One little video uploading, much better. Because people over there at the Newsbreak, even though a lot of people can barely read, but anyway, some anyway. People do tend to read the articles or half-ass skim over the articles. And I see, the content gets a lot of views just in the articles themselves. So I've, put up one video about T.I., and the other post was pertaining to Mr. Crooks from, weeks ago. But I will be trying to interloop the videos from YouTube to Newsbreak. And today I do plan on uploading some content before the night is out over there on Newsbreak. And it's also under the same name, The Vault Excel. So you can follow me whenever I make a comment on an article, give my commentary, my posts. Feel free to follow me there. I am looking forward to trying to, reach the masses. So far as a few people are starting to follow the Queen over there at Newsbreak. So knock yourself out, download the app, and follow me over there. I haven't put anything on X since probably a year or so ago. I kind of just fell off of that last year because I had a lot going on last year. And it's just hard trying to juggle so many apps at one time, posting the different apps all the time. But right now, my focus is the Newsbreak because I can reach a massive amount of people, millions of people, plus people across different countries. So that's one of my goals, is because I can reach people all over the United States and across the pond. Thank you. Okay. Now, I've also posted some polls up. And I just posted another one. And then I'm going to play this next content about him continuing his position. 1 second, everybody.
The month since Sonia Massey was killed. Governor J.B. Pritker says Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell has done nothing to make people safe during the month since Sonia Massey was killed. Pritker is critical of Campbell's lack of accountability for hiring his deputy, Sean Grayson. The shooting death of Sonia Massey by a downstate sheriff's deputy has resulted in some harsh words from Governor J.B. Pritker, but today were his most critical, as Pritker called on Republican Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell to resign.
The sheriff has failed. He has failed to explain how he ended up hiring this deputy sheriff.
Prior to Campbell hiring Sean Grayson, the deputy sheriff had worked for 5 different Illinois police departments in less than 4 years. In addition, Grayson had 2 DUIs on his record before entering law enforcement. In an interview with ABC News last week, Campbell says Grayson's background did not strike him as a red flag.
The fact that multiple agencies is a plus. The way we look at it, he was not fired from any of them.
Campbell says he was unaware of concerns from a previous employer.
Yeah, that's all I need to hear. It's a plus. Are you listening to this? It's to the point where I'm tired of taking notes on things that he has said. I'm getting old. I'm getting older, rather. And I'm tired of keeping notes. He just keeps putting his foot in his mouth. Now it's a plus. It's a plus. How is it a plus to have only worked somewhere a year? People will judge you for that. If you work somewhere 6 months, people will judge you. Whether you didn't get fired, but you left, somebody else say, well, why didn't you stay? And like I said, I understood why he worked part-time, why he left those part-time jobs. I can see why he left those, because naturally you can't live off of part-time earnings. No, not up north. There's no way you're going to make it off of part-time earnings unless you're a kid and living at home with your parents. But the ones after that were full-time, what's the problem? But then we also learned that one of those jobs was an issue because they were mandating that he move. So we also know it's costly to move. You got to find a place to live. And so you can't make a person, give you an apartment or a house for rent. So I kind of understood that. But it's just the way it looks now in hindsight with what has happened. You're being charged with murder of another human being while on the clock as an officer. And you've got these little bitty tidbits of things in your past pertaining to your work history that now it's in the spotlight. And, some will say, well, it's a big deal about the job. Some will say it's not. Now we have the sheriff here saying, well, it's a plus. He's worked at all these agencies. Well, it's not a plus because, one, he didn't have the experience, and he admitted it during a session with one of his superiors. They're telling him he didn't have the correct amount of training, or he didn't have enough training, or he was slap happy, he moved too fast. That was one thing that was said about him. He didn't use safety. So how can you say it's a plus to work 5 or 6 places in 4 years? Or probably less than 4 years, depending on the month he actually got hired in 2020. Yeah, it looks bad. Of course it looks bad. And now you've got this issue here with a dead woman who can't talk, tell us anything. Now we got to go on ability to say, what is it that he was doing wrong at Sangamon County? Because I don't think you're going to tell us the truth that you found fault, or his superiors under him found fault in his behavior at Sangamon County. Just saying.
Records show a Logan County Sheriff's Office supervisor reprimanded Grayson for inaccuracies in police reports. Campbell says he never saw the records during the hiring process for Sangamon County.
We didn't file a FOIA request. We rely on it to voluntarily be given to us.
Today, Pritker also blasted Campbell for...
Did you hear that? We don't put in a request for the work history. Let's play that again.
Other records during the hiring process for Sangamon County.
We didn't file a FOIA request. We rely on it to voluntarily be given to us.
Today, Pritker also blasted Campbell for not meeting with Sonia Massey's family.
I'm not saying that's a fireable offense to not meet with them, but that just seems outrageous to me. At a minimum, listen to them, hear them, and then hopefully take action.
As Campbell said in last week's interview and reiterated today in a written statement, he has not contacted the Masseys directly, although the sheriff claims several requests through intermediaries have been rejected by the family.
So intermediaries, so who are those people? People on behalf of the sheriff's department tried to contact them, but sheriff, it is now being said in this commentary, ABC7 is the source if you're curious, you have not directly called the parents of this dead woman. That's what this article is saying here. So that's a bad look. So you're using mouthpieces to call the people, and what? They're not responding. So I wonder if these people went back and talked to the governor after he gave his little speech and said, well, yeah, somebody did try to call us on his behalf, but we don't want to talk to him. Because, the governor might feel like, well, I put my foot in the mouth by talking to these people saying he ain't reached out to you, but somebody on his behalf has reached out to you, but you all don't want to talk to him. So I wonder if that's going to be a backtrack statement from the governor. Oh, well, somebody on his behalf did try to meet with the family, but they don't want to talk to him. Let's replay that again.
He has not contacted the Masseys directly, although the sheriff claims several requests through intermediaries have been rejected by the family. Despite what the governor is asking, Campbell is not leaving the job.
I am not resigning, and my resignation would do no good in this instance.
Campbell says Pritker is playing politics. This afternoon at the Illinois State Fair, the governor doubled down on his earlier request for Campbell to step down.
There are signs that have been put up about saving him, not doing something about the murder of Sonia Massey, but about saving his political career.
Wow.
So I think he's the one that's played politics. It's time for him to go.
And while Campbell refuses to quit, he did write in today's statement he is willing to modify his hiring practices in order to prevent an incident like that again. Meantime, the governor says if there's any silver lining in all this, that Sean Grayson is being held accountable. The former deputy has been charged with murder. And as the governor pointed out, that may have not happened years ago if it wasn't for body cam. Watch breaking news.
Well, and to think about, not to do politics, but they're talking politics. The former President Trump, he's wanting to vie to keep law enforcement on after they've murdered somebody and be in the wrong. So imagine that. If he's to get voted back in, he'll say, well, don't care. They use excessive force or not. They can't be held responsible, accountable. Imagine that. So now you hear the governor saying, well, sheriff is playing politics too because there's signs out in the community saying, save Sheriff Campbell. Wow. Interesting. Tit for tat. Tic-tac-toe. Well, Sheriff, these things happen where people call for people's positions. It just happens. It's everyone's entitled to his or her opinion, whether they believe this is right, asking for him to step down or not. You're saying you're not going anywhere. You also just said it doesn't serve any purpose for me to leave. Well, that's your opinion, because that's your opinion of yourself. You don't want to go. And you definitely don't want to be booted out. So what will happen come November time, the November ballot when it's time to vote? Will the citizens of Springfield vote him out? Will the county citizens vote him out? We will see. This is bad business. But here, once again, the more he talks, the more he puts his foot, or basically both feet, into his mouth. You have said it's a plus that Grayson worked in different departments. You didn't file a request for work history. So it was up to them to volunteer. That doesn't make any sense. Why would a job volunteer if nobody contacts them? I don't understand what you're saying. I got to play that again because that don't make any sense what the hell he's saying.
Through intermediaries have been rejected by the family. Despite what the governor is asking, Campbell is not leaving the job.
I am not resigning, and my resignation would do no good in this instance.
Campbell says Pritker is playing politics. This afternoon at the Illinois State Fair, the governor doubled down on his earlier request for Campbell to step down.
There are signs that have been put up about saving him, not doing something about the murder of Sonia Massey, but about saving his political career. So I think he's the one that's played politics. It's time for him to go.
And while Campbell refuses to quit, he did write in today's statement he is willing to modify his hiring practices in order to prevent an incident like that again. Meantime, the governor says if there's any silver lining in all this, that Sean Grayson is being held accountable. The former deputy has been charged with murder. And as the governor pointed out, that may have not happened years ago if it wasn't for body cam.
Yeah, well, hold on a minute. Let me go forward.
Fully take action.
As Campbell said in last week's interview and reiterated today in a written statement, he has not contacted the Masseys directly, although the sheriff claims several requests through intermediaries have been rejected by the family. Despite what the governor is asking, Campbell is not leaving the job.
I am not resigning, and my resignation would do no good in this instance.
Hold on a minute. Something else he said I want to hear.
Other records during the hiring process for Sangamon County.
We didn't file a FOIA request. We rely on it to voluntarily be given to it.
There you go. We did not file for a request. We will rely on them volunteering the information. Nobody's going to volunteer, sir. Because what happens is he walks in, applies for a job. You look over the application, you see all the places he has worked. How would the former jobs know he's over at Sangamon County applying for a job? They wouldn't know that. They're not going to know when you put in a request to say, hey, we need a work history on Sean Grayson. And then you wait for the reply. So Pawnee and Auburn and Logan County, they don't know he went over to Sangamon County to work. How would they know? Once he walks out that door, be it fired or he left, they're done with him. Nobody's following you around to see where you went to work, where you're going to go apply for a job. So you're still making it worse. Really, I'm starting to get pissed off. I'm starting to get real pissed off. Because now you sound like a damn fool. We didn't file for a request for his work records. They have to volunteer. Well, why would they volunteer if you didn't file for a request? You can't have one without the other. Are y'all hearing this? This is bullshit. So now you're making it like it's their fault. Whoa, well, they didn't volunteer it. Well, you just said we didn't request it. So why would they volunteer something that you didn't request? You kind of have to have one to get to the other. This is a bunch of BS. ABC 7 Chicago is the source. I don't see this is a hot butter mess.
Charged with murder, and as the governor pointed out, that may have not happened years ago if it wasn't for body count. Watch breaking news on YouTube.
ABC 7 is the source. Body cam. Well, once again, a lot of us have seen body cam, and everybody still has a different opinion about what took place in that house pertaining to Sonya Massey, arguing about pot holders and pots and all that, and who threw water, didn't throw water. In the end, she's dead. And now we have a sheriff who's not taking any accountability for the hiring process of Mr. Grayson, tuning the fact that he's worked in several places without even requesting a work history or a criminal background. Basically saying it's nothing we could have done to halt this madman with a gun. It's bullshit. And later, when I get myself together, I will be going live on Newsbreak to give you all the business, Mr. Campbell. Because you need to step down. You need to step down like right now. Because you have just made a fool out of your damn self. Let's look at the polls on my community page pertaining to this debacle. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App. All right. Sheriff Campbell says it's a political move to ask for his resignation. Do you agree? Only 4 people voted. Yes, 25%. No, 75%. Let's see, what else do I have? Okay, so I thought I asked some other questions a couple of days ago. We'll just double check before I get to my next topic. Although number 2 deputy has returned to work but not on patrol, should he be back in any capacity? 31% yes, 54% no, 15% not sure. Number 2 deputy is back at work but not on patrol. Should he be charged as well? 37% yes, 53% no, 10% not sure. Kind of neck and neck on the question of him going back to work and also him being charged. 6% difference in those questions. The next question will be pertaining to my next information, Raleigh Strain. Let's get down to business with Raleigh Strain. Lord, what a hot butter mess this is. $12 to 15 drinks. First, I thought it said 10 to 15, so now I have to change the number. Oh, Lord, okay. Let's hear what they have to say. Nashville, Tennessee, everybody. Wow, wow, wow. Hot butter, hot butter. Blink Twice is my movie of the week, now showing at a theater near you. Blink Twice, everybody. Let's check it out. Come back here and let me know what you think of the movie. I need to get out and see it. I was supposed to went out last week, but I'll try to get out sometime soon to see it. There's also another one I have on my community page, Long Legs. It's another movie that I have suggestion. Number 2, also playing. It's been out since July 12th. Feel free to check it out. Long Legs. Number 2, movie suggestion of the week. Blink Twice and Long Legs. Riley Strain. Let's hear what they have to say about Mr. Strain.
Troubling never-before-heard details about the death of college student Riley Strain, uncovered by WSMV4 Investigates. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tracy Cornett.
And I'm Marius Payton.
I'm Laura Lowry. We now know police estimate the University of Missouri student had potentially 15 alcoholic drinks before he fell into the Cumberland River at Nashville and drowned.
Let's go to our chief investigative reporter, Jeremy Finley. Jeremy, you uncovered even the bus driver for the fraternity event didn't want drinking of alcohol on the way to Nashville.
Well, that's right. WSMV4 Investigates has obtained internal police files of the investigation into Strain's death, and we shared them with a national expert on fraternities who says Strain's fraternity should be held responsible. On the night he died, Riley Strain seems at first in control. There he is in the black and light brown shirt, standing being served a Jack and Coke. Hours later, though, he would end up dead in the Cumberland River with a blood alcohol level of 0.228. But investigators with the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission later determined he hadn't been overserved that night at the bars. So what happened? What investigators ultimately determined stunned David Eastlick, an attorney who ran a national fraternity for 29 years and now sues fraternities after students' deaths.
I was amazed to find out that he, was basically comatose and he'd been, served an amazing amount of alcohol.
To understand Strain's level of intoxication at death, police interviewed Strain's fraternity brothers at Delta Chi at the University of Missouri, who'd come to Nashville for a fraternity formal that weekend. 2 fraternity brothers say while the bus driver was strictly enforcing no alcohol on the trip to Nashville, quote, the group was drinking, and that Strain consumed 3 IPAs and 2 vodka shots. Here's why the percentage of alcohol is important when it comes to the fraternity's own rules.
You want to talk a little bit about alcohol?
Delta Chi's national chapter's website shows on a risk management video that no alcohol above 15% can be served at fraternity events unless by a licensed third party.
If a chapter doesn't comply with these, they will be placed on a corrective action or probation status.
There is no mention of who else was or wasn't drinking, or if a licensed third party was serving vodka on the bus. Obviously, a vodka shot has way more alcohol than 15%.
This is basically a totally out of control party situation.
Police estimate Strain consumed between 12 to 15 alcoholic drinks before he died. It's unclear, besides the bus, where else fraternity members say Strain drank before heading to the bars. Riley was 22 years old, a grown man by all standards. Nobody wanted this to happen to this young man. But how much personal responsibility is here versus how much responsibility the fraternity has?
It's the lifestyle of the Greek world, and I'm sure he has some personal responsibility because he shouldn't have been doing it because he was 22.
Investigators' notes show by 8:40 that night, Strain begins to stumble repeatedly. After an argument with staff, he's escorted out at 9:38. According to investigators' notes, fraternity members continue on with the party. A fraternity brother told police he reached Strain by phone at 9:47, saying Strain was speaking with a slurred speech, and that Strain indicated he was on his way back to the hotel. Fraternity brothers wouldn't call police to report him missing until 12 hours after they discovered he'd never come back to the hotel. We took the police findings both to the national chapter of Delta Chi and the University of Missouri. Delta Chi would not agree to an interview, only referencing their prior online statements about the sadness of Strain's death. A Mizzou spokesperson said this was a private fraternity event and confirmed Delta Chi has no outstanding student conduct violations.
for the school to sit there and say they're in good standing, I mean, my God, that's morally offensive. I mean, after what happened to this kid,
A lot of parents are going to see this story. A lot of parents of college students will see this story. What do we learn from this?
you know, all this stuff for parents about how they have risk management, they condemn alcohol abuse, they condemn this, they condemn that. It's baloney.
Jeremy, seeing that video is still disturbing even to this day. So I got to ask you, if Riley had that much to drink even before he entered the bars, should he have even been served at all?
Exactly.
Well, Marius asked that
Good
same question
question.
to TABC investigators. So they say all they can monitor is how someone is acting at the time they are served alcohol. And they say in reviewing the video, Strain did not appear too intoxicated when he was served. Now, the Strain family says they have a lawyer looking over police and findings. Also, we have requested all of the audio interviews, and we just got them this afternoon. We're listening to all of them. Once we get all of that details, we'll be able to share it with you, what we have learned. Marius? Jeremy Finley, thank you so much.
All right,
They said it
everybody.
would take me years.
News 4 is the source of that information. Whew, we have a lot to chop up. 12 to 15 drinks, I guess, is the equivalency of the 0.228 legal intoxication found inside of the system of this deceased person, Riley Strain. I could have sworn years ago when I was doing research on something not too long ago, they couldn't get a reading of how a person's level of intoxication deceased. So very interesting information. 12 to 15 drinks. So that reporter had a very good question. Should he have been served at all at the bars he went to? Because now you got to ask the ultimate question. At what point did he start drinking? The drive from Missoula to Nashville is 6 hours and 22 minutes. That's not counting stops, and that's not counting how long it took the driver to get there. Allegedly, the driver did not want the boys drinking on the bus. Who all was drinking on the bus? Passing the bottle, cups, what? Driver can't watch them and drive. He's not a babysitter. Riley Strain is also a grown adult. Legal age of drinking alcohol. University says they're not supposed to serve over a certain amount of percentage, 15% of alcohol at student functions. Well, is this considered a student function even while en route on a bus and in another city? Now, naturally, the event they were going to was a college-sponsored event. But they're drinking en route. So will it still be considered the same en route, but not at the hotel or the function where the function allegedly took place? Does it count en route? You have to ask all those questions. How many drinks did he have on the bus? How many drinks did he have before loading on the bus? You got to ask all those questions. 6 hour and a half trip. So you got to start from the moment he got on the bus and before. Drinks before getting on the bus, drinking while on the bus, drinking once you touch down in the hotel, change, put your going out clothes on or same clothes, whatsoever. How many bars did they go to? Allegedly, they went to 2 or 3 bars, from my understanding. How many drinks did they drink at the bar? Because you're talking about 10 to 15 drinks. If they only went to 2 or 3 bars, you're talking about at least 5 drinks per place. And that's not counting what they drank before they got to the bars. On the video, you see a drunk person, Mr. Strain, talking to the security, going down the stairs. You can see he's wobbling. You can see he's intoxicated. We hear that there was some type of verbal altercation. What actually happened in that last bar? I'm curious, because we're not getting any information from anybody. So what was said for somebody to say to him, you need to escort yourself out of here, or we're going to escort you out of here? This is something that I don't understand about this story, because I know somebody's not telling the whole truth about what actually happened. What really happened in the bar? You want me to believe a 2-level bar, 2 or 3 level bar, had only one drunk person in there? There's no way I believe that. So what happened in the bar? What was said to Mr. Strain, or what did Mr. Strain say or do in the bar that alerted personnel that he needed to be escorted out of there? Why didn't somebody leave out with him? What was the phone conversation like? We're now hearing information that one of the frat guys talked to him and he sounded slurred. Well, I guess so. He's drunk. That's why he was escorted out. We also had heard months ago that he went to another bar across the street, but he couldn't get into that because he was visibly drunk. Is that still truth or not? What was said in the phone conversation? I do remember watching him walking down the street with his arm extended out, which it looked like perhaps he may have been talking to someone on the phone. Was this one of the guys? What was the phone conversation? Oh, allegedly he was on his way back to the hotel. So somehow he got lost en route to the phone conversation and somehow ended up in the river, which I don't get. Because I see drunk people all the time when you're out at a place where they serve alcohol and you don't hear these people wandering into the water. And some have to go over bridges, overpasses, underpasses, and they don't end up in the river. And sadly, a lot of them are driving cars. So that's just hell on wheels as well. Because you're talking about driving an automobile, and we already know what can happen if you're behind the wheel inebriated. But this is some baffling information. Talking on the phone, he says he's on his way back to the hotel, but obviously he's walking in the opposite direction and somehow ends up in the river and later found in the river deceased 2 weeks later. Why didn't somebody walk out with him? When I was on Newsbreak months ago when this story first broke, there were a lot of guys commenting. And the one thing that I saw that was most interesting from males who commented, most of them said, if you put one of us out of a bar, you're putting all of us out because we're not going to leave our friend behind. Exactly. And that's where I have a problem with these bunch of dudes that were there with Riley Strain on this fateful night. You saw that he was having problems that night. We don't really know what was said or done, or I'm not going to say really, we don't know what was said or done in that bar. But the fact that you let him get escorted out and didn't go, and allegedly one of you lied and said you walked down with security. Well, on that video, we only see Riley talking to the security guy, and those two walked down the stairs together. So where's the third person who allegedly walked Riley out? Because that's the whole point of a story. You all didn't think the video was ever going to be shown to the world. Well, it's been shown now. And I didn't see a third person walking down the stairs. I saw Riley stooped over because he's a tall guy talking to the security person, and they're going down the stairs, and he's drunk. He's drunk going down the stairs. I didn't see a third or a fourth person. So where were you? You were a fly on the wall. I knew these guys weren't telling the truth. That's why they have never come forward to speak about Riley Strain and what happened. Because that's the one thing I've always told you all about true crime. A person is never going to tell you everything that's said in interrogation, what they wrote on a police report, what they said to law enforcement, because they don't expect you're ever going to hear the actual conversation. Bingo card. Say it again, Quinn. They were never expecting for us to ever hear or see video, audio of conversations, written reports. But they should know better. This is America. Free speech, free access to information. Checkmate. So it don't really matter what version you gave. It's always going to be something to contradict whatever you said or not said. So there's no video showing you walk down the stairs. Because allegedly he left out that one bar. Where were you in the video? I didn't see you. And who was this person that said, I walked him out? And then somebody's going to still argue. Well, why would you walk him out knowing he's drunk in a foreign city? He's not from there, although you all had been to Nashville before for a fraternity event, but still he's inebriated. So he's a fish out of water. There was no respect for your friend. There was no love for your friend. And I wouldn't trust none of you. Whomever was there with him that night, you are not a friend. You are a foe. Because what you did is vile. And what all of you should tell each other, since you've been scurrying around like rats, probably trying to keep your story straight, if you do it to Riley, you would do it to another one. Checkmate. Who is responsible for this debacle? Should the school be held responsible? What are the parents going to do? File a civil suit with the university? File a civil suit against the so-called friends? We hear the spokesperson for the fraternity saying no alcoholic beverages over 15% are allowed to be served on functions, school functions. Now, one would say the bar is not a school function. That's a public bar, private bar, whatever. So it's not a school function. But the guys are on a fraternity trip from the university. So how are you going to weigh that out? Who is responsible? Well, naturally, Mr. Strang has to bear responsibility for knowing his intake. And then number two, the bartender serving the drinks has to be responsible for serving drinks to a person that's currently inebriated. And number three, the company of the person, those people should have been helping aid him to safety. So it's a three-party event. Mr. Strang, bartenders, and his so-called friends. They're all evenly yoked in this trauma that took place in Nashville, Tennessee. Because people get drunk all the time. People get drunk at bars, restaurants, publicly, private homes. And if they're in the care of their so-called friends and family, somebody should care enough to look after him or her, to say, you've had too much to drink. You need to go lie down. You need to drink some water. You need to sit down. You need to spend the night. Naturally, you can't make a person do what you want them to do. But the best thing to do is, hell, threaten them with the police. Say, hey, you get behind the wheel of that car, I'm calling the police. And if they say, no, you better not, just say, well, I'll show you. Sleep on the couch, sleep it off. Get up, sober, drive yourself back home. Another lie. They looked for him for hours. You couldn't have looked for him for hours. 6 or 7 hours. That's a lie. Because you stayed behind in the bar, and naturally they're going to have the footage to show when all of you left. And that's what they should show. All of them exiting the bar together. Because you didn't exit with Riley Strang. So I'd like to see how long they stayed in that bar after Riley Strang was escorted out of the bar. Because there's no way I believe you all walked around on foot looking for Riley Strang after he exited and after you exited the bar. Bullshit. So that's lie number 2. Nobody walked him down with security and nobody looked for him thereafter. And all this SHIT about Snapchat and pinging him under the bridge. Well, he was under the bridge, all right. Floating. Tumbling down and floating. Take your pick. Your friend was under the bridge. Sure enough. Now, how he got up under there, what made him go to the ledge and roll down into that water is a mystery to me. Because I don't know how you would go from the sidewalk to over into the water. It makes no sense to me. Now, I don't know if he went and walked over. He wanted to use the restroom, relieve himself, and lost his balance. That's the only thing I could think of. But at some point, a person should know they're near the edge of dirt. There's no way you could not know. Because all of that's not made the same over there by that river. There were places that they showed you in videos. Some had a drop-off. Some had concrete barriers. Some had, I think, metal railings. So all of it wasn't consistent. If he fell down in there, as they say he did, he was at the place where obviously there was no ledge, no concrete barriers. He just tumbled on down. And he had to have been a rolling mess because his fall didn't break for him to end up in the water. It would be a horrific death. And naturally, if he fell, he tumbled down and hurt himself, could have got hit in the eye, head. He wouldn't be able to get his bearings because there's rocks down there. So if he rolled fast, he probably could have hit his head, anything. It was quick. This is an atrocious story because, as I said, yes, he was a responsible person for him. And perhaps he relied on his friends to be caretakers, to be saviors, but they were not. And so the lesson learned here, no matter what happens with the family, what they choose to do as far as suing a bar, the school, fraternity, the other guys, the lesson that should be taken from other parents, the lesson they should learn from this story, and young people as well, is that you might need to choose better friends. Because naturally, no amount of money is going to bring Riley Strain back, whomever the parents decide to sue if they want to, file a lawsuit. But in the end, he was a grown man legally drinking. And he was with his so-called friends, buddies, who did not do due diligence by him. They did not look after him. And that's the sick part of the story, besides the death of the young man. Is that this guy had a lot of drinks, probably on his way there, while there, and then going around bar hopping. And at no time did he have good company. Because there's no way in hell I'm going to travel 6.5 hours out of town with my friends and watch one of them get kicked out and let her just roam around the fucking city to get back to a hotel by herself. And you all thought that was okay even for a guy? He's drunk. He is drunk. Going back to my room. You still should say, okay, check-in. No check-in with you all. You know why? Because you were too consumed with getting drunk yourself. There was no concern for Riley Strain. And like I said, with these bunch of guys that were there, because it's supposed to be like two separate groups, and this one group was at that bar where Riley got kicked out of, if you did it to Riley, you would do it to another guy. That's how I look at it. And you all are not friends. You all are not frat brothers. You're bums. That's my opinion of you. Because you travel too fucking far to leave one man out. A lot of crazy things happen to people roaming city streets, especially drunk. Everybody knows this. Hell, why don't you ask some of those dead people that's been found floating out there in Texas? All these men keep popping up dead in that, Lady Bird Lake? Some people think there's a serial killer out there or somebody's drugging them in. I don't know what the hell's going on, but the point is, I refuse to believe all these men are just jumping in the river because they're bored, jumping in the lake. And we've had at least, 2 or 3 people fall in the lake since Riley Strain was found in the lake. How the hell they got in the lake, that's a whole nother question too. River, excuse me. But this is atrocious behavior. Because like I said, people drink all the time. And sometimes they don't get an Uber, a Lyft, ride share. They don't call a cab. They don't get a designated driver, sober driver. They foolishly, yes, get behind the wheel. But in this case, they came on a tour bus, and I'm assuming they walked from their hotel to the bars or Uber Lyft there. The point is, you left him there to fend for himself, and that was wrong. And you are not his friend. You were never his friend. And that's how I look at it. And if you do it to Riley Strain, you would do it to somebody else. Because what's the difference? There is no difference. What are you going to later tell us? Oh, well, we really didn't like him. Are we going to play high school now? Well, he really wasn't our friend. He was just a tag-along brother. This is sick. And see, I knew there was more to the story even before we found out it wasn't foul play. when everybody had their conspiracies about what they thought happened to him, if he wandered off or took off, didn't want to be seen, wanted to play possum or foul play or homeless person did something, I knew there was still more to the story because I know people. And I knew that nobody looked for him when he went missing. That was obvious to me because I refuse to believe drunk people are running around a city on foot looking for another drunk person. Nobody does that. You got to be really hard up for somebody to go running around drunk looking for them in the wee hours. Come on, let's keep it real. The fact you waited 12 hours to report him missing, that's another thing. That shows me you did nothing to try to find your friend. You waited until daylight savings to go to the police department to talk about your missing friend, and then you all still went to a formal the same day you reported him missing, which was that Saturday. So you get pissy drunk all the way there. He gets escorted out that Friday night. You wait until afternoon Saturday to report him missing, and then you go put your damn tux on to go to a formal while your damn friend is sitting here sinking in damn water. Sunk, rather, in the damn river. And you saw his parents. They arrived. And you all went on about your merry way like it was nothing. And then you brought your asses back to school with your tail between your legs, whispering among yourselves, knowing you failed Riley Strain. And as they say in the street, hey, with friends like this, who needs enemies? Exactly. Because that's what a lot of people need to understand about this world. Everybody is not your friend. And the Riley Strain story is the prime example of faux friends. And I tell people, you watch how people talk when they're around you. You watch how they act when they're around you. You watch everything about people. They'll let you know if they're a real friend or not. And you better keep your eyes open and keep your ears open. You can tell when somebody's a friend or not. A lot of people don't like to, as I say, nip it in the bud out of fear of retaliation. Sometimes you got to just pay the piper later, honey. Cut them off. Because see, what I like to know is, how did they treat each other when they were sober? See, I like to go in the belly of the beast. Because I always say, it's probably more to it than just somebody got drunk and said, the hell with it. Let him go on back to the hotel. He'll be all right. He's a guy. He's a drunk guy. 6'6" don't mean shit when you're drunk. What do they say about the bigger you are, the harder you fall? Damn Skippy. And we saw that on camera, him fall down. Nobody there to help pick him up. Nobody there to say, hey, buddy, you all right? You okay? Hey, where's your car? Where's your cab? Where's your Uber? Just out here on his own. Bad situation. Horrific situation. Now his parents and family are left to mourn their child, and they didn't get no confirmation from these so-called friends. We also heard that you all didn't call these people. You didn't talk to his parents. So this is why I told you it was nasty business with Riley Strain, no matter what happened to him. The way his friends behaved is the true testament of unloyal friends. Your behavior made people think something suspicious happened to him. So foul play or not, he was not in good company. And that is what's wrong with a lot of young people. They don't realize when they don't have good friends. They think they do, but they don't. And like I said, if we would go in the belly of the beast, I won't doubt there's some other stories lingering about pertaining to Riley Strain and this bunch of folks. It's just a matter of who's going to come out and tell the truth of how he was actually treated with these guys when it ain't no alcohol, when it was no alcohol involved. Who gonna tell the whole truth? If he was really liked by these guys, any type of difference with these guys, if one of them that's supposed to be his really good buddy ain't his good buddy, never was a good buddy, that's what I'd like to hear. This is a tragic story. And my prayers are to the family. Because the mother, you could tell she was grief-stricken. She missed her child. And then naturally having to find out her child is deceased. Then they tell her foul play. Because I'm sure they was assuming it was foul play. Because naturally they didn't want to be bothered with anybody once that was released to the public. Because I'm sure they thought it was foul play. Because nobody in their logical mind can put together how he ended up in that damn river. Because I still to this day don't understand how he got over there. It's not even in the direction of the hotel. Why are you over there? And I don't care what nobody says. You can smell water. You mean to tell me he was that drunk he couldn't tell? I think I'm getting near water. And you still can't get to the water from where he was without legally jumping over a barrier, crawling and falling damn near to your death so many feet down. That's why I said none of this makes any sense to me. And this is horrific. So this is why I tell people when you travel, you need to make sure you're in good company, people who got your back, people who are going to look after you. And if you know that you like to drink and hee-haw around, you need to try to keep your temperament even, because terrible things happen to people when they drink. They get loud, they get boisterous, they get rude, they get ignorant. And I don't know, Raleigh Strain could have gotten crunk up in that bar, and that's why they asked him to get out of there, because that's not being addressed either. So that's the elephant in the room as well. What was said in that bar for the staff to ask him to leave? Because I refuse to believe he's the only drunk person that night in the bar. Come on now. No way he was the only drunk person. So what happened in the bar? What was said in the bar? What did he say? What did he do? Did anybody try to defend him? Hey, sorry, we won't do it again. He won't say it again. We're all together. We got him. Woo, woo, woo. Staff says, now we want him out of here. Did he make a pass at somebody? Say something out of the way to a woman, man? Was he acting erratic, falling out of his chair? So you got to ask all those questions. Because why is he the only one walking out drunk, but the other guys are still left behind in the bar? Who's going to tell the truth about why Raleigh Strain was asked to leave the bar? And I think these guys also know that the lies they've told pertaining to that night have come to fruition. You did not walk him out. You did not go look for him. And nor did you go talk to his parents thereafter and rally for your friend. And that's despicable behavior. But that's expected from people who didn't give two fucks about their friend, and that's my opinion. I want to thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back with more commentary, and I'm going to also go to my community page to ask you a question pertaining to Raleigh Strain. Please take the polls pertaining to Raleigh Strain and Sheriff Campbell in the Sonia Massey case. Let's see how you all weighed pertaining to responsibility and accountability in the death of Raleigh Strain. Thank you for joining me. We have an update. Uvalde police chief speaks out after the indictment in the deadly school shooting. We'll try to update you on that information as well. Hear what he has to say. That should be interesting. Once again, first topic of the hour is about Sheriff Campbell. He says it's a political move to ask him to resign. Do you agree? 11% yes, 78% no, 11% not sure. New info released in Raleigh Strain case. He and others drank alcohol on bus to Nashville and consumed about 10 to 15 drinks before death. Should fraternity be held responsible? 20 people voted. 70% yes, 20% no, 10% not sure. That's my commentary. Please follow the Queen on the Newsbreak app. That is another platform where I am trying to upload content and posts pertaining to myself and breaking news. Feel free to check out the latest video I uploaded pertaining to the arrest of T.I. He was arrested Sunday in Atlanta at the airport. It was a case of mistaken identity. And the guy who they were looking for had a warrant out of Maryland for stalking and violent behavior. And for some crazy reason, T.I. was, I guess, coming in or going out, and they assumed it was him. He went to jail, got out, and the warrant to have him extradited to Maryland has been thrown out by a judge because he is not that same person who they're looking for. The question I pose, how in the world could you not know he's not that guy? Did you not have a description of the guy that you're looking for? How in the world would you get them mixed up? Makes no sense to me. Smells BS. Smells very fishy. That's one of the videos I've uploaded to Newsbreak. And I'm going to check that said content, because I've got a few people following me over there on the Newsbreak app. So if you're looking for information on breaking news and stories around the world and United States, download the app and you can hear the latest information in your jurisdiction and beyond. Let's see what the Queen has. So far, I've got 32 followers. Not too bad. Not too bad. And on my rapper T.I. video, I have 5,773 views. So not too bad for a couple of days posting a video on the app. But I comment all the time. I've been commenting on the app probably for about 5 or so years. I had took the app down off my phone last year and then uploaded it again. So they got it like I'm new to the app, but I've really been on the app for a couple of years now. The Vault Excel, same name as on YouTube, is also on the Newsbreak app. Follow the Queen. I will be trying to upload content regularly there as well as here. It's a balancing act, but I'm going to try to do both if I can. And also I will try to do a little bit of something over on the IG. It's just hard trying to, maneuver all different apps because I'm uploading information to different platforms. So I'm trying to keep up with right now 4 apps, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. We'll put this down here. So follow me over there if you want to see what the Queen's doing over there. Feel free to download the app on your phone and type in the Vault Excel, and you'll see all the comments I've made on articles, people's, their responses as well. And so far I only have like 4 posts up as of now because I'm kind of slow running over there. So it's, like I said, it's a balancing act between that app and this app, and then I'm on 2 other apps. It's a balancing act, but I thank you for your support. God bless all of you. Stay well, and be careful because the heat is high, and there are a lot of terrible things can happen to you when you're out here in this heat. You're not prepared for it. Because trust me, I was out last night and I thought I was going to pass out. I was just like, good Lord, 8-something o'clock at night and it's still hot. Like it was, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's why I felt so drained today. Like I've been running a marathon. But thank you all so much for your support. God bless all of you. And once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. I'll be back with more content, everybody. Look forward to seeing some shorts in the YouTube queue pertaining to this latest information of Raleigh Strain and Sheriff Campbell, who is the sheriff for Sangamon County. Thank you, Skylar. Thank you. I appreciate that. You all have a wonderful weekend. You have been listening to the Vault Excel.